Saturday, and they announced that there was a cancel 5-hour delay leaving the airport. And by the time I got home to the States, I would have missed my only flight, which is Natty. So they said, so we can fly you home to New York or Atlanta, and then come home. But I still wouldn't have gotten home to be with all of you. And so I said, well, why would I want to go to New York or Atlanta when I could just stay right here and come home tomorrow? So that's what I ended up doing. And it was a lovely week, and I just want to thank you for the gift of that time. And I want to share with you some of the things that happened for me. I sent a little bit of that in my email to you last week. I'm going to send you another email with some more reflections. But this morning I want to tell you about one of the most amazing encounters I had. One of the things about being in places as old as Ireland and Great Britain, and I'm sure it's true in other parts of the world that I haven't visited, is that people who are connected to spirit have created sacred spaces there, like thousands and thousands of years ago. And those of us who visit have the opportunity to encounter in that sacred space what they felt that called them to create sort of an altar space there. And on this trip, I got to visit this really ancient circle of stone. And I think people don't actually know how old it is, but it's been there for, I think, thousands of years. And it's 15 stones that are big boulders, really, that are make a circle. And then in the center is this huge mother stone. I mean, like an altar, really. And so when we got there, there were about 40 of us in this group, and we made a circle on the outside of the stone circle. And I got there after they had given me instructions for what we were doing, so I was just watching. And people were taking turns going to the center, to the mother stone, and saying a name, or a couple of names, and then stepping back outside the circle again. But some people just went in and didn't say anything, but put their hands on the stone and then stepped back out. And I didn't want to intrude. It was like a really sacred moment that was happening, and I didn't really want to intrude. And I've been practicing since February. Remember, I went and had this sort of nature immersion retreat in which the leader said, there are non-human beings who have things to say to you if you would just listen. And although that feels so contrary to everything that I've been taught about trees and rocks and the grass, thinking of them as just things that are growing or sitting, I decided I would practice that. So I just said to the stone that was right there in front of me, what are people talking about? Like, who are the names that they're mentioning in the circle? And I had this sense, it's not like I heard it with my ears, but in my spirit, I heard these words, they're naming the day. I was like, oh, well that sort of felt congruent with what I was witnessing. Some people, after they would say a name, actually left the circle and were pretty sort of upset. So I started to think about, well, when it's my turn, what would I bring into the circle? Of course, I thought of my dad, who had died in January, and we just had his memorial service before I left on this trip. But I also thought of other things that are dying. I thought, for example, of a friend of mine who's been struggling with depression for over a decade, and was sharing with me before I came on this trip how they woke up one morning and discovered that this crushing sadness that they had been living with for so many years just wasn't with them anymore. And when I checked in with them again a little while later, I said, how's that going? It's still gone. And it felt almost miraculous and mysterious that this weight that had been sort of heavy in them for so long would just somehow mysteriously disappear. So I decided that it was dying. This sadness was dying, this depression was dying, and I was going to take it to the center of the circle and claim that as gone, like not coming back. And then I also thought of some relationships in my own life that are very troublesome right now, where there's not a lot of trust and a lot of crankiness, and I'm frankly tired of it. And so I thought, well, I'm going to take that into the circle, and I'm going to claim that is done too, and offer it up, and trust that new trusting collaborative relationships will rise come to the altar, and we say we're going to lead things here for the Lord. And then I went back to my place, and after everybody had come in and then done their thing individually, the leader called us to step inside the circle of stones. And the people who led this group were musicians. I mean, they are renowned singers in Ireland, and so they sing all the time. And so they just started singing, and we started singing a song in the middle of the circle, and then we were done. And we dispersed, and she said, some of you might want to go to the stone in the center and have your own private moment with it if you want. And so I lingered, and I came up to the stone, and it was so interesting, right there where the stone was, right in front of it was a low stone on the ground that was, which was just like our newers, only made of stone. And I thought, well, maybe I should kneel here, so I did. I knelt down, I put my hands on the stone, and immediately they got warm. It was like a magnet pulling my hands onto the base of the stone. I could feel this energy moving through the stone. And I just listened. And the stone, again, like I could hear these thoughts come to me that said, we have been here for thousands of years. And we have this web that you can't see of energy that connects the center to all the other stones, the stones to one another. And we metabolize, that's the word that she used. We metabolize all the dying energy that people come and lay on the altar. And we transform it into life. We return it to God essentially, to be used for good. We take all the despair and the loss and the lament and the regret, and we transform it. And I wanted to stay there because I could feel my hands just so connected, but I knew there was like a line of people behind me, so I very reluctantly pulled my hands off the stone and stepped out. And I went to the edge of the circle to take a picture. And then, I'm not a big selfie person, but for some reason I felt this call to take a picture of myself in the circle, so I turned, you know, you can bring your phone around and take your own picture. And my selfies never look good. I never like the way they turn out. But I opened it up, I was like, oh, that's not a bad picture. So I thought I'm going to send that one to my husband. So as I was walking back to the van, I started to open up this picture. And before I could send it to my husband, the strangest thing was going on in my phone. There was this energy light, this ribbon of energy that started on one side of me, went up around me, made a little loop, and then went off the other side of the phone. It just cycled. I was like, that's so weird. I was like, what is that? And I was sure that if I closed my phone and reopened it, it would disappear. It was just like a mystery. So somebody who knows about phones, if you can record that. You can record what's going on the screen, and they showed me how to do it, and I made this little recording of it, and I have it in my phone. I'm glad to share it with you after church if you want to see it. But anyway, as I laughed, I felt like my phone had somehow mysteriously captured that energy web that the center stone had told me about, that web of connection. I was just sort of standing, it was like I was standing in the way, like there was this current that was going back and forth among the stones, and I just happened to be standing there, and so I captured it in my phone, just through